Hello, hello, and welcome to the IntModPod, a podcast dedicated to the education and teaching of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. As always, my name is Bobby, and I'm here to teach you everything that I know about Dungeons & Dragons and ensure that you can pass all of your intelligence checks with flying colors. So this week, we're going to be talking about conditions. Now, this is going to be a continuation of last week's episode, so I still have Robin with me, and for some reason during the recording of this, I decided to call conditions status effects. So please excuse me on that. Whenever you hear status effect, just know my blonde brain was going crazy for some reason. I guess I played too much Pokemon, I don't know. And it just got stuck there. So do forgive me there, but I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. So now we're going to get into talking a bit more about the status effects, right? These are things that you are almost always going to have to make a saving throw to keep from happening to you. Sometimes it just happens, there are no saves, and that's when you know you're in for a really rough fight, when there's no saves. But for the most part, we have saves. So the first thing, we're going to do these in alphabetical order, so if you have your player handbook with you, we're going to be just going in alphabetical order that it has them. So we're starting with blind. Love, love, love blinding people. Again, radiant damage often has blinding associated with it.
Sure
We
does.
love it. So what this means is you can't see. Straight up. So you
Literally, blind means you're blind.
It's exactly what it sounds like. I feel like a lot of 5e has very, it says one thing, and then, when you look into the rules, it's a little bit different. This is just straight up. You are blind. You cannot see. Any ability or skill checks that you make that require sight, you automatically fail. We love it. Also, all rolls against you have advantage, because you can't see to dodge them.
You can't see him coming. You can't see where to go to get out of the way. You're done.
Yeah, blind against you is awful. It's so scary because your character is so vulnerable in that moment because so many things have advantage against you. But also, I believe you also are going to have disadvantage attacking people.
Yes,
Absolutely terrifying. So not only are you weaker, offensively, but defensively also. So it's just all around. Blind is such a good status effect to pick up.
it is. And it's one of those things that it makes sense that it would cause that much difficulty, because if you are not someone who is just blind and knows how to deal with that, and all of a sudden you lose one of your biggest senses, you're going to be lost. You have no idea what's going on, where you're going, who you're hitting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I will say there are quite a few enemies that will have blind sight, and what that means is that you can still see within, I think it's 10 or 15 feet around you while blinded. And I think there's certain monk subclasses that get that as well. We'll have to look into that once we get to monks, and I might have to issue an apology if that's incorrect. But, so there are workarounds to being blinded, thank God, because it is terrifying. And it might not be the best go-to for all monsters. If you're fighting a normal human, like a humanoid, not necessarily a magical one, because some magical ones might be able to get out of it, but a normal, a knight, this is great. This is so good.
Yep.
The next one I find to be very difficult to kind of use, it's charm. So charm is one of those ones that I feel like gives a whole lot of issues to people because it's very vague.
Yes, that's exactly it. The parameters are not really there, so you can... this is another one of those things where you have to come in with a good idea, you have to flavor it real well, and you have to hope that your DM says, yeah, that sounds interesting. I mean, we saw this on... what episode was that? Was it episode 2, maybe? Where Seraphina charmed the person that we were supposed to be capturing?
It was 2 or 3, yes. It was the one titled Very Specific Fantasies.
Yeah, right. And that was the kind of thing where it happened, and, Seraphina was like, I'm gonna try this. And of course she rolled super high.
So well.
But, yeah, so...
Yeah, so the official,
we let that go.
We do. The official ruling of what charm does, it states you cannot attack the charmer or target the charmer with damaging abilities or magical effects. So I have seen, this is where it gets tricky, because I've seen DMs that say that a fireball is not technically targeting a charmed person. I personally believe if someone is charmed and everyone huddles around them, AoE spells you're pretty much good on.
Think so, because then it would make that person second guess doing anything that even might hurt the charmed person.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't even want to send something that way that they might could get, you know,
Yeah.
caught in the crossfire of.
Yeah, so for me personally, that's how I rule it, is like AoEs, they're not going to put their charmed person in danger in any way, shape, or form.
No.
We also have social advantages. So the charmer has advantage on an ability check to interact with the person who's charmed. So anything you're doing socially to like convince them to do something, persuade them, to trick them, you're going to have advantage with. So good. Super good. This is a great one for outside of combat as well as in combat. This is just a great spot. I will say, though, I don't like a lot of the spells that charm. And the reason I don't like them is because it specifically states on almost all of them that they know they've been charmed at the end of it. So it's like, it kind of feels pointless. I feel like there should be a saving throw associated with if you know or not.
Yeah, yes and no. See, I feel like it's almost overpowered to just be able to charm somebody and then they have no idea. I think that some of them should be that way, but I almost like the idea that, you know, if, let's say, obviously not real life, but let's say you're somewhere, someone charms you, you do something completely out of character, and at the end, you're going to be like, why did I do that? Like,
yeah.
so,
I mean, I could see that with like spells like command for sure, but I'm thinking like if we cast like, because all it does is give advantage on ability checks for social, so that means it would all have to still be within the realm that they would actually do it.
True.
Because it would, like, if I'm trying to persuade someone into doing something, it would have to be something that I could actually roll high enough to get them to do.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, I feel like if it's something that no matter what, they have to do what you say, absolutely they should know. But, like I look at the Friends cantrip, and I hate it. I think it's one of the worst cantrips. Previously, I think the 2024 they fixed it, because originally in 2014, it specifically stated that they become hostile at the end of it. Okay. Whereas now they just know that they did it. Friends used to be the quickest way to make someone that's not the friend. It was like the quickest way to be the opposite of friends. But they fixed it now to where it's just, you know, they know that they've been charmed, but a lot of the original charmed ones were like they become hostile after the charm effect ends. And so I feel like being a charmer was almost useless, because you're a charmer for a minute and then it's gone.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of being hostile afterwards. It doesn't bother me that they know, I guess. Because that can kind of make for some interesting scenarios in and of itself. But yeah, I'm glad they got rid of the hostile part, because that can really cause some problems where I feel like it's unwarranted.
And it just felt unnecessary.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Next up, we're going to talk about deafened. This is not one I see a lot. I don't think deafened, I've ever actually seen it come up, but it essentially you cannot hear and you fail all ability checks requiring hearing. Deafened, if you are in a bubble of silence, you are deafened. But that's the only time I really see it ever come up.
Yeah. I did play in a campaign once where we were somewhere, we were fighting something that was invisible, or it had something that was making it invisible. And the only way we could know where to aim was because we were having to listen to it and roll, you know, did I hear it? Did I, you know, so that was something where, then whatever little creature it was, and I can't remember now, this has been years ago, but it was trying to deafen us with various spells and things so that we couldn't find it. And so it would have to be a very specific instance, kind of like that.
Yeah. Since you brought it up, we are gonna, sorry for everyone who's going alphabetically, we're gonna go ahead and talk about invisibility. Just because we've talked about it, let's go ahead and get it out of the way. So it's got invisibility, I think, is one of the strongest conditions you can put on yourself. For one, people can't see you. amazing. So
Yep.
good. Also, with the new player handbook, it gives you surprise. So if you are invisible when you roll initiative, you have advantage on that initiative roll. So that's great. I love that. It also is going to give you advantage on any attack you make while invisible, and it gives anyone trying to attack you disadvantage on their roll if they can somehow sense where you are. I think that's great. I think it's so good.
Yeah. There it again, one of those things that I feel like if you have the opportunity to get that in some way, take it. Even if you don't
Yeah,
know how or when you're going to use it, take it. It'll
there
come in handy.
absolutely. There is a feat called Shadow Touched. If you like invisibility, it lets you cast it without a spell slot. So good. So good. We
Oh,
love
that's
it. I love
awesome.
it.
Yeah,
I love it.
for sure.
Um, so yeah, I would rank that in the top 10 conditions you can put on yourself.
Seriously.
Exhaustion is next, going back to alphabetical order for us. Exhaustion is one of those things that it's very DM dependent if it's ever going to actually show up. And so it's gone through a lot of changes from 2014 to 2024. So I'm going to talk real quick about the hold on, I have it popped up here somewhere. I got the chart. So originally what it was is if you didn't long rest, if you didn't take your full 8 hours of sleep or resting, you would get a point of exhaustion. You could also get this through other effects, such as one of the barbarian subclasses. After raging, you would get it. I think they removed that for 2024, thank God. But what it does is it's like a point system, right? So at level 1, when you get your first point, you're going to have disadvantage on all ability checks because you're a little sleepy. I think that's fair. And this is only if you're doing 2014 rules. We'll get to 2024 in just a minute. At 2 points, your speed is halved because you're moving slower. At 3, you have a disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws. That's when it starts picking up. But the next one is where it really starts messing with you. At 4 points, you're going to have your hit point maximum halved.
That's a lot.
That scares me. That's terrifying. At 5, your speed is reduced to 0. So essentially, you're just like just laying there. You can't move. At that point, if you're not sleeping once you can't move, what are you doing? Why are you doing
Right?
this? Because at 6 points, you die. Straight up. You're just dead.
I'm going to lay on the ground because I can't move, but I refuse to
But
sleep.
I will not sleep. You can't make me.
Oh my goodness.
So, I mean, I guess if you're like, I know that there's, like, the Icewind Dale storylines. There's a couple modules if you're playing, or if you're just playing, like a super survival-esque one that you just can't rest because you're, like, surviving or whatever, this could start happening. But, like, people, eat your rations. Do your sleep.
Right? If you're in a place where it's a problem, take turns.
Yeah. So, new 2024 has completely redone how exhaustion works. And I kind of like the way it works better in 2024. So you're going to be getting all of these effects for each level, but they stack instead of being like a new effect every time. So what's going to happen is when you make a D20 test, so a D20 test is what they're just calling rolling a D20, right? All ability checks,
Right.
attack rolls, saving throws, all of that is a D20 test. You're going to have your roll reduced by 2 times your exhaustion level.
Okay.
So I kind of like that. It gives you a more progressive thing versus just straight up disadvantage. You're also going to have your speed reduced by a number of feet equal to 5 times your exhaustion level. I like that too.
Okay.
So you're not just immediate, at your first level, you're just getting a -5 to your movement. I like that. You're moving a little
Right.
slower, but it's not just boom, you're halved. So those are the only 2 effects now, is that all rolls are going to get -2 times your exhaustion level, and your speed is going to be reduced. Now, you can get rid of those through a long rest, removes 1 of your exhaustion levels. When your exhaustion reaches level 0, it's gone. However, we still do have, if you hit 6, you die.
Right.
You can just be so tired that you die, and I feel that on a spiritual level most days.
Yeah, I hear you there.
So, I 100%, I like new Exhaustion better than old Exhaustion.
I do too. I feel like it's more of a natural play because instead of, oh, I'm exhausted, this major thing happens and then this other major things, like you said, this is just, it's all the same. You're just getting progressively worse at what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
which is so much more real, I guess,
Yes.
which I mean, we all know the D&D is not real life and that is what's wonderful about it.
Yes.
But it does make your brain able to wrap around exhaustion a little easier and around how you play that
Yeah.
because it makes more sense, honestly.
Yeah, I think like bookkeeping wise for newer players, I think it might be a little more difficult because now we're having to like do multiplication, we're having to like keep up with exactly what numbers, but
Hmm.
I think overall it is a good change.
Yeah.
You know, cuz
And listen, keeping up with stuff, you just got to do it the way I do. And I have a stack of sticky notes. And anytime I get something put on me, I get one giant sticky note and stick it here. Like when we play,
yes.
I have sticky notes everywhere because otherwise I forget stuff.
Yeah, I literally have to get just a stack of notepad paper, and I just like I think in some of the shots you can see me straightening my notepad, but I just
Yes.
everywhere. I love taking notes.
Uh-huh.
And then
Yep.
like all of my notes, I literally have a different page for each session, and it's just like if I go back and read it, I'm like, what does this mean? Like I don't understand what's happening here. But that episode's Bobby knew what was happening there.
That's right. Hmm. I won't get all of my sticky notes thrown away or moved or whatever, and then random times during the week I look up and I'm like, what is this? Oh, I had a thing at some point.
Yeah. So yeah, exhaustion. If you're doing like a super hardcore survival campaign, that's where that's going to come up. And I want to jump back to when we
Right.
talked about earlier because we've been talking about what kind of campaigns it comes up in, like a lot. I want to talk about Charmed again real quick. If you're
Hmm.
doing a Feywild themed adventure, Charmed is everywhere. That is the Fey's
Yes.
go-to status effect.
Oh
If
my
they're putting a
gosh, yeah.
condition on you, you're charmed.
Yep.
I just wanted to throw that out real quick. Like, if you know you're doing um, Feywild shenanigans in this adventure, playing something that has resistance to charm effects is never a bad idea.
No. Because
Um,
yes, shenanigans is the right word for that. Anything in the Feywild is going to be
yes,
shenanigans.
yes. As someone like I don't know if you can tell through Morroway, but Fey stuff is my favorite. I know Feywild lore backwards, frontwards, sideways, everything. I love the Feywild. So when we were first making characters, I was like, I need to do something that I'm strong in. And so I was like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna do
yeah.
Feywild. You know, we're gonna be from the Feywild. We're gonna do kooky shit all the time. Um,
It's
yeah.
perfect.
So next is frightened. Frightened, I see a lot. Your big
Hmm.
baddies are gonna try to scare the shit out of you all the time.
Hmm.
So with that, the way it works is you have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls when the source of your fear is in line of sight. This is new. This is a new thing for 2024. Um, Amazing, so strong. If you want to be a scary character,
Hmm.
this, as long as you are in line of sight, that person has disadvantage on all attack rolls and ability checks. That's so good.
That is good.
Um, and from previous, also came to 2024, is you can't willingly move closer to the source of your fear. I like this too, because this is a good way for your mages to like keep people back.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. Like in real life, me, I see a spider, I am not going towards it.
Yeah, no,
You
I'm
you
not messing
cannot
with
pay
that.
me to.
Because I think
So it makes sense.
originally I think in 2014 it was just you cannot move closer. I like the
Mhm.
disadvantage also adding, because I mean, if you're scared, you're gonna be trembling, you are gonna have issues.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it makes sense.
Frightened is going to show up in a lot of undead storylines, and Frightened is going
Hmm.
to show up in a lot of like Devils or Nine Hells storylines. Those are the two kind of baddies that are really going to use Frightened to their advantage. Necromancers love it. I think
Yeah.
undead more than demons are going to use it, but demons, Frightened and Charmed, I think they use both of those kind of just not as much. Those are their
Yes.
both of their kind of go tos, but undeads are going to frighten the shit out of you as much as they can.
Oh yeah.
Next up is, I feel like, one that doesn't get a whole lot of love. I feel like not a lot of people really know how this works, and that's going to be grappling. So if you are
Mm-hmm.
grappled, now we're not going to talk about how to grapple someone. We're going to talk about that next week when we talk about combat actions and how combat in general
Mm-hmm.
works. But if you are grappled, so this is someone grabbing your arm, grabbing your leg. This is not like someone fully has restrained you. We're going to talk about that later. This is just grabbing someone. Your
Mm-hmm.
speed is going to be reduced to 0, and it cannot increase. So if someone has like a ability that lets you move a certain amount, you cannot take that ability. It doesn't help you because you are grappled.
Right.
So
Well,
good.
it only makes sense. I mean, in our last episode, for almost that whole uh, combat, Zada was grappled.
Yes.
That thing had him around, I mean, had him by the front of his fur and stuff around his
Mm-hmm.
neck. Like, obviously, you cannot move. Like, what is your bottom half going to move and your
Yeah.
whatever part is just going to stay there? Like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You are
So
stuck.
there's certain classes. The one that sticks out to me the most is going to be a glamour bard, where they can expend their
Hmm.
bardic to let people move 10 feet, or it might be 15 feet. That would not work if someone is grappled. They are stuck there. However, you can get people out of it, say, with Marway, with Huthamer's teleportation. Teleporting, you can get them out of it with. This is
Okay.
purely if it's them moving themselves. So like them
Gotcha.
walking, but
Okay.
teleportation you still can use.
So you're
Um,
kind of just yoinking them out of there.
yes, yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Um, so you also have disadvantage on attacks against the person who is grappling, against anyone other than the person. I'm sorry, that is grappling you. So if I were to grab Robin right now, it would be harder for her to hit anyone else but me. Obviously if Robin grabbed my arm right here and right here, that would be an easy hit for me.
Mm-hmm. It
I'm
is.
surprised it doesn't give you advantage, but I mean, I guess they're trying to keep it like a negative to the person who gets it.
Yeah. Well, because even let's say, yeah, they're right there in front of you, so you're in their space. But if they have your arm and you're trying to hit
That's
with,
true.
say, a two-handed weapon, you suddenly don't have one of your hands.
That's
Or
true.
if you are doing something, even just like punching somebody, you have to have a balance to that to get a really good sock to the face there. So
Correct.
yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah. Also, you are now movable, which means the grappler can drag or carry you when it moves. Every foot, however, costs 1 extra foot unless they are tiny or 2 or more sizes smaller than it. So if you're fighting like a gargantuan being, it's not going to have an issue throwing you around. But
Right.
if you're fighting like a medium-sized person, it's going to have to take extra time or extra movement to move you with it. But I
Hmm.
like this because I feel like previously to move someone that you were like carrying was just half your movement speed. But I like this better.
Yeah. Okay, so the question then I guess is how do you know if you're two or more sizes smaller than it?
So every character, and we'll talk about this when we might even do a species episode. I've been debating on if I wanted to do that or not because there's just so many.
Yeah.
So we might end up doing that. But on your species, everyone is going to have a size associated with them. They go
Hmm.
from, I can't remember what the absolute smallest is, but it's like petite or it's like microscopic almost. And then it goes into
Hmm.
tiny and then small, medium, large, giant, and then like gargantuan, I think is the next one. And so every race is going to have one that indicates what it is. So, say you're a large
Okay.
character. As a player, I don't think there's any that actually you get to be large in. I think they kind of shoehorn all of them into being medium.
Hmm.
Even though I feel like Goliaths should definitely be considered large. Actually, as I'm talking, I'm going to look that up and see if they have transitioned Goliaths into being able to pick large. But if you're fighting like an actual giant, who is large, and you are a medium creature, they would still have that disadvantage. However, if they were
Okay.
large and you were a tiny creature like a cat, they would have no problem
Yeah.
with that.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, they still have Goliaths as medium, even though they're 7 to 8 feet tall.
That,
That
that's
that's
the biggest medium I've ever heard
that is
of.
questionable to me. I think if you are in a D&D game, talk to your DM. I feel like most would let you just be large because even one of their features is that when you're carrying something, you count as large. So, like, in this situation, if you are grappling someone, I think that would still count as you carrying them, so you would still count as large.
I would think so.
I don't understand why they don't just make them large. I mean,
I'm sure they have their reasonings, but
like,
I
I
don't agree
wonder.
with it.
I imagine as we go through, like, spells or whatnot, we're gonna hit the reason, and I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, this is why they didn't let just people be large. If you know why they can't, just go ahead and drop a link at that subreddit r/IntModPod. Let us know, because I don't know. I feel like it would have just been so much easier to make them large. But that's a conversation for another episode, I think. So with that, also, you can get out of the grapple in 2 different ways, right? So you can use your straight up strength, your athletics, to, like, physically get yourself out. Not everyone is super strong. And I don't know if you've ever tried to, like, wrangle a 2-year-old who just learned how to, like, start moving and whatnot, but they just everywhere. You can do that too. That is an acrobatics check that you can do with it. So if you're
flail check.
if you just want to, like, flail and try to get out that way, you certainly can. Now with that, you are going to be battling against their DC for that. I'm trying to see where I guess it would just be their, like, a DC. I think it's 8 plus proficiency plus their strength, or it might be athletics. I'm trying to look in the player handbook that they just put out, and I don't think they have it actually listed. So that's an issue, because I know the new player handbook has been getting a lot of flack for not being super specific about things, and this would definitely be one of them. But I think the general outcome of how you would do that, I will say I prefer doing contested checks for that more than I do a flat DC. So in my games, I know I would do contested versus a flat DC, because I feel like in the moment it's going to be different than just my grip is always the exact same always.
Yeah, I agree with that. We do a lot of contested checks when we're doing those kind of things when we play. Also, I'm sorry, I just can't get the mental image of, like, some demon, like, grabbing, I don't know, like, Bula, and her just being like, noodle body, to the board.
Like, it's like she's got the strength
like
for it, but she has the strength, but she goes toddler, like, limp body mode instead.
I don't want to.
I think you should do that. I don't think Kara would be expecting that, because this episode will not air before.
Bad.
Yeah, this episode will not air before we have our next session. So if you get grappled next session, you should do that, because she will have no idea that it's happening.
I would 100% would. It'd be hilarious.
And so for anyone who doesn't know a contested roll, what that means is, if I was doing a grapple check against Robin, I would roll my strength because I'm grappling, and she would roll either her athletics or acrobatics, whatever she chooses, and whoever has the higher is the winner of it. It's literally a competition between the 2 rolls. Also, I would really like to point out, I know it says you have advantage against everyone but the grappler. A big misconception is that when people are grappled that they can't attack. You can. It specifically has it in the rules now to let you know. I in one of my in-person games, one of our guys grappled the enemy, and then he multi-attacked him and, like, knocked him unconscious. And he's like, but I had him grappled. And we're like, do we need to demonstrate for you what grapple means? Like,
unless you're being grappled by an octopus that's got all your hands and feet and everything, then, like, I think if you're getting grappled by an octopus, okay, fine. You can attack. Anything else, you're good.
Yes. Next up, we're going to move to incapacitated. This one's harsh. If you are incapacitated, you cannot take an action, bonus action, or reaction. Your concentration on any spells you have is broken. You cannot speak. And if you are incapacitated at the start of initiative, you roll your initiative roll with disadvantage. I really like these initiative rolls that they've added for invisibility and incapacitated. I think they're really smart.
I do too. Because it makes sense. If you're incapacitated, even if you come back during that round or whatever, you're still going to be like, okay, what the heck happened?
Yeah. I think this is great. I will say, though, that incapacitated comes up as a side condition to a lot of the conditions we're about to talk about. So this is like a condition in a condition. And speaking of that, we've already done invisibility for those following in the book, so we're going to move right to paralyzed. The first
Which
part
makes
of paralyzed, you are incapacitated.
you...
So all of the effects of the previous incapacitated explanation you're going to have. But with this, your speed is also reduced to 0. We
Mhm.
love that. Saving throws, you automatically fail strength and dexterity saving throws. That's huge. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Attack rolls against you have advantage. Love that.
Because
Uh,
you're not moving out of the way for sure.
yeah. Also, any attack roll against you is automatically a critical hit if the attacker is within 5 feet of you. That, to me, makes this, if you are trying to build like a support character for a bunch of meaty frontliners, this is a go-to.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna make your frontliners feel amazing. When they just walk up, they have advantage, and they're auto-critting.
Yes.
Like, can you imagine, like, you and Killian going up there and just auto-critting everything?
Well, I'd have to hit it first. That's the
That's
problem.
true.
That's that's the problem that I've been having. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, you're right. Just walking up and I hit it. Okay, it's a crit.
Absolutely. So spellcasters, if you have access to Hold Person, this is the spell. This is a
Yep.
10 out of 10 spell. So strong. I think almost all spellcasters can get it. It's so good. And again, if you're doing a more supportive build, it might not be your first idea of like, oh, I want to be a support, let's Hold Person. But you're literally almost doubling all of your frontliners' damage,
Yep.
which is insane. So good. If you can paralyze people, do it. The next one is petrified. So this, again, you're going to be incapacitated. We love it. Your speed is going to be 0. But with this one, you are going to be transformed into along with any items you're holding, into, usually it's stone, but I guess you could flavor it differently, talk with your DM. Because I know there are certain instances in a Feywild adventure that I have where people can be turned into metal, and it essentially turns you into a statue. There's a whole lot of benefits that come with this, so this is not all bad, I want to say.
Okay.
So let me tell you about this. Attack rolls against you have advantage, so we're still like paralyzed, where you are still, it's still, people are going to hit you hard. You are going to automatically fail your strength and dex saves, as usual. However, this can be a niche way to save someone also, because you have resistance to all damage. Anything someone throws at you, you have resistance to. You also have immunity to poison condition, which we're going to talk about actually next.
Okay, so even if you're already poisoned, it's already taken its toll on you. Somebody can turn you into stone.
And poisoned is gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Okay.
Now, poisoned condition doesn't do damage like we want it to, and we're going to talk about that, but it does do other things. I wouldn't recommend using this as your go-to, let me get someone out of a situation, but, I mean,
As
it
a
does
Hail
give
Mary,
them,
I mean.
yeah, if it is a last-ditch effort, and honestly, you know where I could see this working? If you have to fall from a really high place, you could turn someone to stone, and they would take half fall damage.
They wouldn't break?
Not rules as written.
Interesting.
Because it says resistance to all damage. So I would imagine that's one of those things that if the fall damage does make them hit 0, I would imagine they would shatter instead of doing death saves. But if you know it's only going to be a certain amount, but they won't survive just jumping, this could be a way to do it.
Interesting.
You would need some good magic to get them unpetrified.
That is the truth, yes.
So again, this is not, the way to go to really support someone, but in a super, super niche situation, I could see this being useful.
Well, you're not dead, but I don't know how to turn you back from stone.
So with this, you're gonna need to pop a whole ass greater restoration. This is not gonna be lesser restoration territory.
Wow.
So this is gonna come with a cost. I almost feel like it would be easier to let them die and then cast Revivify on them.
True.
That
Well, I guess
because
it's whatever you have available though, because if you don't
yeah,
have Revivify,
that's true. Uh,
sometimes you just gotta turn people to stone.
Either way, I feel like I want this to be more supportive than it actually is. You know, I love like really stupid niche stuff.
Yes.
Don't do this. I gave you bad ideas. This
Do
as in
not try this one
as an
out.
intelligence, this works. But if you're making a wisdom check, this is not wise. This
Oh
is
my
not a wise
gosh.
thing to do. This is a smart thing to do, but it's not wise.
Oh
So
my goodness.
next up, speaking of immunity to poison, we're going to talk about poison. All it does is ability checks. Any ability check or attack roll you make has disadvantage. I wish there was damage associated with this. I really do.
Right?
Even if it's just like it takes a quarter of your health. I don't know.
Mhm.
I wish poison was
It
a
needs to
poison.
have it needs to have a poison counter like in Magic.
Yeah, it's like I get why they don't because, you know, outside of combat, you know, if we did it in combat, you know, every turn you take like 1d4, that would be
Yeah.
fine. But out of combat, you'd be taking a d4 damage every like 6 seconds.
Okay.
So that would be
That's true.
devastating. That would be
You're
absolutely
right.
devastating. I would imagine outside of like every 6 seconds you'd have to make a new saving throw or something to get out of it.
Yeah.
So poison, I wish it was more, but I understand why it's not.
Fine.
Again, I feel like this follows Wizards of the Coast theme of just really hating poison. And poison just getting the short end of literally everything.
Just literally just crapped on it the whole time.
It doesn't, yeah.
Don't take poison.
Again, if you want to be a poisoning, like, I always imagine these like a wood elf that, you know, uses natural poisons.
Would be fun to
The
roleplay.
imagery is great, but
You
honestly,
take all that time and effort, you do it, and then it does no extra damage.
honestly, if I were you, I would talk to your DM and I would just flavor your poisons in a different damage type. Like, still use all of the
Ooh.
poison rolls, but like, can you imagine like flavoring your poisons to be like almost like the poison of a pepper, you know, where it burns, like so it does fire damage instead
So
of
just
just
fire
poison
damage.
damage. Or you know,
Yeah.
it's or like think about like a super intense like spearmint flavor. You know, it's cold, it's so cold it hurts, like
Mhm.
frostbite.
Mhm.
Like there are ways to make a poison character so much better. Necrotic damage is
Yes.
so similar to a poison. You know, talk to your
It's,
DM.
it's all about how you flavor it.
I think we're gonna do another show at some point where we're gonna talk about like flavoring. I think we're just gonna call it Wisdom Mod Pod, and we're gonna talk about like the actual like because wisdom is how you perceive things. You know how we can perceive
Mhm.
differently. But I've never met a DM that like even if I have Fireball and I'm like, but I want to be an ice wizard. Okay, your Fireball is ice.
Right.
You know, if I, as a character, use as Morrowind, use Flaming Hands, right? It
Mhm.
isn't. It's a lightning spell for me because we have flavored all of the fire spells that you get for Wildfire Druid into lightning because that's what I do.
Right.
So flavor, kick it up a notch, bam.
This game is 100% about creativity. If
Hmm.
you can do it and you can make it look good and make it make at least a little bit of sense,
Hmm.
that's all you need.
Like Drake Warden Ranger, they give you the chromatics, right?
Mhm.
I've played one and I was like, I want a Radiant Dragon. Because I had this idea, we were doing Tyranny of Dragons, right? And I was
Mhm.
like, I have this vision of our final fight, me riding in on a Radiant Dragon flying through the skies to fight Tiamat. And I was like,
Oh
this,
my gosh.
you know what I mean? This like idea of like bringing the light of dawn into this dark area was so powerful
Yeah.
for me. And my DM was like, absolutely, your dragon is Radiant.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love it. And I'm sure I'm going to talk about this
Who's
when
gonna
we
say
talk
no
about
to that?
Rangers, but it was so much fun. So yeah, flavor. I had something I was going to say about flavoring, and then I got on a tangent about Rangers. I was going to say, do not use the rules as an excuse not to do what you want, because there in every
Right.
Dungeon Master's handbook, there is literally a spot that says, regardless of what the rules say, you make the rules. As the dungeon master, you can change anything. As a player, talk to your dungeon master. They have the authority to do whatever they want.
Right? You don't have to try to fight against the book and how it's written. You just have to persuade your DM.
Use it as a tool. Use the book as a skeleton, not as your full character. And once we do start doing WizModPod, that's what I do. Like, if you look at Morroway, I feel like it would be difficult to really look at him and be like, oh, that's a wildfire druid. You know, if I didn't come out and state that it was that way. And that's how all of my characters are. I don't like playing characters that are exactly how the book wants me to.
Yeah.
You know, I come up with an idea, and then I warp the game around this idea. All right, so we're going to move on to Prone. We've only got a couple left. So Prone is great. I've seen this used as a negative and a positive. This is one, unlike Petrify, this is one that actually can be used to be beneficial. So
I still think you were onto something there, but okay.
I am calling it right now for anyone watching Dion Rising. I will use Petrify to save someone. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I am determined that I will find a way. I don't know how, but it's gonna happen.
Oh, I can't wait.
So Prone, your movement is restricted. It's half movement. Oh no, your only movement options. I'm so sorry. I'm lying to all of you. Your only movement options is to stand up, and it costs half your speed to stand. I don't really like that, only because I feel like you should be allowed to, like, army crawl. DMs, make with that what you want.
It says, okay, your only movement options are to crawl.
Oh, to crawl or to stand. Yeah.
Or to stand. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I misread. Reading is fundamental, children, and I did not do great. So your movement speed is halved. And then to stand up is half your movement speed.
It's half your movement.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's better. I was getting upset for nothing.
I feel like the older your character is, the more of your movement it should take to stand up.
I
feel
100%. And I feel like at a certain age you should start taking like a D4 force damage when you stand up.
Oh my
god. Or no, it's your bones cracking, so that would be thunder damage.
There you go. Yes.
Homebrewers, if you want to do a Golden Girls themed campaign, this is how you do it. And I want to talk about real quick, this has nothing to do with this, but were you aware that when the D&D, the people who created D&D, when they formatted the perfect D&D party, they built it around the Golden Girls?
Stop.
I'm dead serious, look it up. That's one of my favorite tidbits.
I love that so much, it's not even funny.
That's why, like, when you look at, like, all the things are built for 4 people, they're built around the Golden Girls' personalities. And, like, their alignments.
It makes so much sense,
doesn't
honestly.
it?
Yes.
So, Golden Girls D&D is canon, everyone. The Golden Girls are D&D characters, and they are not only D&D characters, they are the D&D characters.
The D&D
that
characters.
The entire world of D&D is based around. Let that sink in for a moment.
Literally, I feel like that just made my day. If I didn't already love D&D so much, so that would be it right there.
Let me ask you, which of the 4 characters would you be?
Dorothy.
Oh my god. Is Dorothy your favorite?
She's... Yes, probably so.
I feel like Golden Girls is why I am so witty.
Yeah.
No, I think, like, I have a different who I would be and who my favorite is. I would be Rose, because I'm full of useless information that nobody gives a shit about, right?
Right.
But my favorite is Blanche. I adore Blanche so much. And it's like...
It's so hard for me to pick just one, though, because they just go together.
So well.
Like, I need them all together.
And I think that is, like, a perfect depiction of 4 characters that are so different but so alike and work so well.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I mean, I can definitely tell that when they were making the Bard class, they were looking at, or the Bard or Rogue definitely is Blanche.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Rose is definitely a cleric of some kind. I feel like Dorothy is a wizard. And I feel like Sophia, I don't fucking know. She's a fighter, probably. She's ready to throw hands at any moment.
Oh, 100%, and doesn't care what anybody thinks. She's just going to say
Yeah.
it. She's going to do it.
So fighter, wizard, rogue, cleric. That's like the 4 base classes. That's what it
Yeah.
is right there. We just cracked the Golden Girls code.
Oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've heard today.
So back to being prone. You also have disadvantages on attack rolls while prone. I feel like, this is just me personally, if you were using a crossbow, I would probably change that to advantage because, like, you're not moving.
Yeah.
So I would say that if you're using a crossbow, as a DM, I would change that rule. That's not rules as written. Talk to your DMs. But that's how I would do it. But I
Or
understand.
at least not have disadvantage.
Yeah. At least just normal, I would say. And then, if you're a rogue, I think 2024, or I think both of them had this, it was if you reduce your speed to 0, you get advantage. So right there, if you're prone, just take that feature so you don't move that turn, and then you have advantage. That's how I would do it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But attack rolls made against you have advantage if you're on the ground, as long as they're within 5 feet. So people with swords, whatnot, they have advantage because you're just laying on the ground. You're not really moving. But ranged attacks have disadvantage.
Out.
Yeah. Ranged attacks have disadvantage. So if you're like, that's where the trade-off is if you're fighting a bunch of archers, get down, get low, crawl to them, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I like prone. I think it's fun. You can get knocked prone so many different ways. People can push you. Thunder damage can knock you over. You could just get prone of your own volition if you so wish. Do what you gotta do. Restrained is our next condition. This is the one that often gets mixed up with grapple because I feel like they're very, very similar. So restrained, again, 0 movement speed. You can't move. Attacks rolls against you have advantage, and attack rolls you make have disadvantage. So unlike the other one where it was just, unlike grapple where you have disadvantage on everyone but one person, this is everyone you have disadvantage.
You just have disadvantage.
Across the board, and everyone has advantage against you.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Restrained is so good. Druids, Grasping Vines. So good to get some good AoE restrain. So good. Also, people are going to have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. So, a combo I really enjoy. If you are a druid or just someone who can restrain a good amount of people, and you get like 5 people in your little restrained area, and now they have disadvantage on dex, do you know what works amazingly with that?
What's that?
Your invocation wizard that has fireball ready.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Now all of them have disadvantage on that save.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
People, wombo your combo, okay? Work with your people. This is just the support in me, I'm always thinking, what can I do to make other people more powerful? But, like, if you can restrain people, do it. If you are honestly, I feel like if you can, there's no reason not to. Set those fireballs up. We all love the fireball, even if you're not the one casting it.
Well, and you know what? Tie them up, put a bow on their head, and put them right in front of your fighters. I mean...
Yes.
What better way to hand them to them?
Yeah, restrained is great, but it is very similar to grapple. So that's just one thing that I say all the time. In D&D, we have very specific wording that we use. Mm-hmm. And the more you know this wording, not only the more you know how not to make mistakes, but the more you can really get a leg up. You can use all of these things to your advantage. And that's really what I'm trying to accomplish with this podcast, is teaching people how to use the rules to their advantage and how to bend the rules to their advantage.
Right.
So
it doesn't just have to be a negative thing to you.
Yes.
You can learn how to use it to be a positive for your team, for you personally, or even how to get around it if it does happen to you.
Absolutely. The more you know in the rules, the more dangerous you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Absolutely.
There are so many janky things that you can do to just really, really turn the tides in your favor. And you can do all of it with the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we're going to talk about stunned. So this is when you feel like setting your phasers to stunning. Yet again, we're going to incapacitate people with it, as always. along with incapacitate. I don't know why this isn't just part of incapacitate, but you automatically failed strength and dex saves. So again,
Right.
fireball, incapacitate them. Anything you can do to incapacitate for that fireball. We like to talk about fireball a lot, but also attack rolls against you have advantage. This is very, very similar to some of our other conditions, so I'm not going to really talk about it a whole lot, because it's a lot of these are very, anything that has incapacitate I feel like is very similar, but just slightly different. So yeah, stunning. We know what it does. It's very similar to everything else. I don't know. It's just kind of there for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another way to say you're still.
Yeah.
You can't do anything about it.
Nothing. I feel like this is missing. Hold on. I'm gonna go to the stun condition in the player handbook real quick, because I feel like, oh no, that's part of incapacitate. Just kidding. You can't take an action. Yet again.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I feel like you can't take actions, but then I'm like, oh wait, incapacitate covers that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
As you see, also, I've been DMing for so long. We've been playing this game for so long. There are times you're gonna make mistakes, people. It happens. Your DM will make mistakes.
Oh yeah.
That is okay. You will make mistakes. It is okay. Because there are so many rules. We cannot possibly know every little wording, every phrase. And let me tell you, when you make a mistake, do not be afraid to just tell your DM, hey, I messed this up. Do you want to go back and fix it, or do we just want to roll with it? Oftentimes, they're just going to roll. Because it's... When we make mistakes, often it's a small mistake that it's, like, slightly different. It's not a big deal to mess up in D&D. Don't be afraid to mess up.
The other thing is, too, don't be afraid to say, wait, what does that mean again? I mean, y'all hear me say that 1,000 times.
Yes.
Because my brain sometimes holds information about as effectively as soggy bread. So it's like, I know the answer, but right now it is not coming to me. So I oftentimes just have to go, wait, am I doing this right? Is that what that means? Like, any DM would rather you ask than again, making a mistake is not a big deal, but you might have the same question as somebody else at the table anyways, so.
Yeah. So I was told one phrase that really changed my outlook on asking questions in D&D. And that's that almost all D&D players are nerds. And what is every nerd's favorite thing to do? Tell you everything they know about everything. So it's not even... They want to show you how much they know. I mean, look at me. I made a whole ass podcast just to show you how much I know.
Oh my gosh, you're so right.
People who know things, they want to tell people they know them, right? So, I mean, but I'm not opposed to showing people that I make mistakes. I don't know things sometimes, and it's okay. Yeah. There is going to be someone in your group that knows the answer to the question you want to know, and they are going to be excited to tell you about it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I did this once. I know exactly how that works.
Yeah, let me tell you exactly how it works. And then they're going to feel amazing. They're going to feel like the know-it-all that they are. They will love it.
Absolutely.
Our last condition, it's unconscious.
It's kind of a big one.
This one's huge. So you have the incapacitated and prone condition, and you drop drop whatever you're holding. When this condition ends, you remain prone. That's okay. I feel like a lot of people don't do that. I feel like a lot of people are just like standing up after they get the healing thing. They don't take the time to stand. So that's officially like in the roan that you stay prone when you get up. So if you get knocked unconscious, you are still on the ground. You have to use half movement to stand.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that makes sense too. Again, if you're knocked unconscious, your brain is rattled.
Yes.
So
your body is rattled. You are rattled.
I feel like even if you get some healing potion that brings you back, you're still going to be like, oh gosh, where am I? What happened? How did I get here? Like, you're not just going to be like, okay.
Yes. So, yeah. Yeah, definitely need to take the time to spend. Your speed is reduced to 0, just like it is for incapacitated. Attack rolls against you, yet again, have advantage. If your DM is attacking you while you're unconscious, just know they hate your character.
They are
Straight up.
actually trying to kill you.
They want your character dead. And you can send them to this podcast at me. I will tell them to their face. If you are a DM and you are attacking your unconscious players who are already making death saving throws, honey, unless, of course, you know, it's like a super aggressive campaign, in which case that's reasonable. But, like, your average campaign, that's really rough. You have a mean DM.
Or I feel like as players and DM, y'all just need to step out back for a minute and take care of whatever it is.
Let out whatever this tension is. You automatically fail strength and dex saving throws. I feel like previously it was you fail all saving throws. So I think it's weird that now it's only dex and strength.
I feel like it should be all. If you're
I feel like it should be all as well.
It should be all.
So again, as a DM in my campaign, it would probably be all.
Yeah.
Not because I hate you, but because it makes sense.
Exactly.
Yet again, any attack roll against you is a critical hit. So if you're not already, like, if you're unconscious due to, like, sleeping, not necessarily due to being knocked to 0 health, you're going to take crit hit. It also counts as a critical failure on, if you're doing death saving throws, it counts as a crit hit against you, so you take 2 fails. That's why we say DMs who do that are harsh.
Right.
Also, you are unaware. It specifically has this. You are unaware of your surroundings. So if you are unconscious, do not metagame. Do not tell your friends what to do. Hush it. I know that sounds harsh, but we know you want to help people. Don't.
Oh, we've literally sent players out of the room if they're unconscious when we play sometimes, especially if we have one that does tend to metagame. We're like, all right, you're unconscious. Other room. Go.
Bye.
Shoo.
Yeah.
We'll let you know when you need to do something.
Excellent. So that's all of our conditions and damage types. This is probably going to be our longest episode, so just forewarning. About halfway through conditions, I was like, shit, we probably should have done this as 2 separate episodes. But, again, we're trying to make this very easy listening, not, you know, super lectury. So if you kind of come in here and there, you know, start halfway, do half of it, whatever. Essentially, we really just want this to be very, easy for people to learn. I'm going to be doing my best to putting, timestamps in, but I'm not technologically savvy, so it might take me a little bit to figure out how to do it and then to actually get them put in. But know that I am going to be working on that to make it a little bit easier to find what you're looking for. Do you have anything extra you would like to plug before we do our ending routine?
No. I mean, other than the obvious.
Yeah.
Dion Rising.
Dion Rising every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central. You can find all of the nights raiding through Dion and running amok. We are actively just started getting into the thick of it. Again, the IntModPod every Tuesday. I'm going to be trying to get these regulated at 12 p.m. drops, but I'm not sure. I might even do an 8 a.m. drop. I haven't decided exactly how it's going to work because right now I can't schedule the actual releases yet with the system that we're using. So here soon we're going to be getting some new stuff and we'll be able to schedule. On Wednesdays, we're going to have tea time with Melanie. Friday nights, we do Baldur's Gate 3. Super fun. I feel like there's other stuff. I believe that's when Kara and Melanie's other podcast is going to be doing is Fridays. So I think Thursday is the only day right now we don't have active, in your face. I think me and Kara are probably going to do Baldur's Gate as an evil playthrough, but again, that's kind of up in the air right now. We kind of do it for fun. This week we didn't do it, but... So we're here almost every day of the week except for the weekends. Check us out on TikTok, on Instagram. We're on both of those. Kara's been dropping craziness all over TikTok.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
She's so funny. I'm working on some videos to kind of spotlight all of Morroway's companions that he has running around so you can get to know them a little bit. And I think we're all going to be making videos about how we made our characters in terms of like what rules we used and how we built them. So be on the lookout. All of those should be hitting down on TikTok eventually. I don't want to put a time on it, but eventually.
Please don't.
I will not be doing mine until after our characters have hit level 4. I will tell you that much, because I have things in my level 4 that are integral to how I'm building Morroway.
Yes,
so don't expect that
too much away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You missed yeah. I was about to go on a tangent, but that's for another time. So yeah, check us out on everything we have. I'm going to try to get links everywhere. Again, though, I'm not tech savvy. I almost said I am. I am not tech savvy, so please be forgiving with me as I try to navigate the world of technology. But thank you so much for joining us, be it on the podcast or on YouTube for the video version. And we will see you next week. And until then, may all of your intelligence checks be successful. Bye.
Bye.